Alright, picking up where my video on determinism left off, I identified in the last part of that video that materialism is a hidden assumption of determinism, and I'm going to continue from there. I'm not going to be talking about free will in these videos. I'm going to be talking about materialism. This is a two-part video which is just meant as an exposition of materialism. I will discuss the limits of materialism and why it's ultimately a flawed way of looking at reality in future videos. But I'm just going to jump right in, so this first video is materialism defined. Okay? Materialism is the positive side of atheism. It's the metaphysical claim made by atheism. And it can be distilled down to four major claims. The first major claim of materialism is that everything in existence is material. Okay. Every entity or phenomenon that we encounter, or that we could possibly encounter, can be explained in terms of some lower level entity or phenomenon, the latter being closer to the basic stuff of reality, which is just matter itself, okay, which is usually conceived of as particles, energy, waves, quantum foam, whatever. Okay, so a rose is explicable in terms of the laws of nature, its genes, etc., which in terms are explicable in chemicals, atoms, quanta, etc., moving down towards the lower and lower levels of explanation. Now, because matter is all there is, matter is the basic stuff of reality. So there isn't any other kind of stuff, or there aren't any other kind of entities in existence that aren't material. And of course, by matter here I mean energy too. I'm using matter in a metaphysical sense, in the broader sense, not just particles, atoms, etc., but any kind of physical stuff with extension that can be quantified. Okay, so this basic stuff, there's only two metaphysical possibilities. It's either been here forever, or it suddenly started at some time in the past, or more properly speaking, the past started. In other words, matter just emerged from nothing, or matter has always existed. Very few materialists believe that matter just emerged from nothing. That would seem to be absurd. And so the view of almost all materialists is that matter has always existed. Matter is just what's there. So it's not a question of matter being caused by something else. Matter is the basic stuff of existence. So even if this universe began, whatever it was, 15 billion years ago, in some form or another matter has always existed. So there may be other universes that cause this universe, or the universe may be an oscillating universe, but matter is all there is. Alright, the second major node of materialism is that reality is divided into two basic spheres, the objective and the subjective. The former is ontologically prior, and takes precedence over the latter. The objective sphere is the sphere of matter, laws of nature, facts, quantifiable things. The objective sphere is the sphere that continues even while you're sleeping, or if you go out of existence. That's the objective world. The subjective world is the sphere of subjective experience, feelings, emotions, meaning, ideas, thoughts, and higher and lower level qualia, things like the experience of pain, the experience of pleasure, the experience of happiness and joy, up to the highest abstract thought, which is subjective to you. Only you experience that. Other people might have the exact same experience or a very similar experience, but while you're thinking, you're thinking. Your thoughts are not accessible to somebody else, and the same goes for your experiences, etc. So within materialism there's this tendency to divide the subjective and the objective into two different spheres. And since the objective sphere is general, it's experienced by everybody, or is encountered by everybody, and continues even if I don't exist, and the subjective sphere is particular, the objective sphere takes ontological and epistemic priority over the subjective sphere. So the subjective sphere is unavoidable and it's important, but it's in a sense hanging on the objective sphere, and the objective sphere is where real reality is. Now, there are of course kinds of atheists, existentialists or humanists, who take the subjective sphere very seriously and are even willing to say that it's the most important thing to us. So these are people like Sartre, Camus, who view the objective sphere as being sort of pitiless and meaningless, and are, in our sense, our enemy, and our goal in life, our real purpose, is to give ourselves a purpose and to strive on bravely against the black, pitiless universe, which is invariably going to suffer heat death, and we'll all go out of existence, but at least we have our subjective meaning, and that's what we should sort of hang our hats on. Alright, so the third major node of materialism, it's actually two parts. It's monism and nominalism, and they're related to each other. Okay, regarding monism, for a monist, the unity of reality, the basic unity of reality that we all sense, consists in its being one great event made of the same basic physical stuff. Alright, so there's one big event going on, but it's all made out of the same stuff. And its unity consists in its all being, in some sense, material. It's materialist monism. Now, nominalism. Now, not every atheist is a nominalist, but most atheists are some kind of a nominalist, and it usually goes along with being materialist. Nominalism picks up where monism leaves off. The diversity of matter, the sense in which everything is differentiated, consists in the virtually infinite recombination of all this stuff. Each instantiation of which is merely some particular arrangement of that same basic stuff. Okay, so in a sense there are many different things in reality, and there's not a sense in which they're all basically one thing, and there are differences in degree between these different levels of reality. You have something very simple like a cork and something very sophisticated like a platypus, but they're not really differences in kind in an absolute sense. It's a difference in degree. When we develop concepts to differentiate between higher and lower levels of reality, of these different material instantiations, and those concepts are useful in delineating between one and another level of reality. But strictly speaking, the concepts are only useful, they're not absolute. Concepts like animal, vegetable, life, non-life, man, primate, these are generalities, and they're generalities in the weak sense of the word. They give us a kind of a way of dealing with trends in matter, but in an absolute sense they're not actually real. They don't actually hold in an absolute sense. There aren't any universals, in other words, except the one universal, that is matter. Okay, now if everything is matter and everything is explicable in terms of matter, then the node 4 follows from this. Anything which is non-material is either non-existent or superfluous. So God, souls, angels, anything of that sort is just superfluous. There's no room for it. If I can explain X in terms of Y, and if X is totally explicable in terms of Y, why bring in Z? Okay, there's just no need for it. That's the way the materialists view things. Now, some materialists are hostile towards religion, others are pretty sympathetic towards it because they feel that it does something for the subjective side of us. But all materialists view God, souls, and that sort of thing as being just outside of reality. Remember, reality is the objective sphere. These things might be meaningful to us subjectively, but our subjective experiences, beliefs, etc., if we're going to be telling the truth about reality, if we're going to behave in a way which is in conformity with reality, they have to be modified to match objective reality. Alright, now some atheists, some materialists view belief in God and angels as invariably harmful, since if they're at odds with objective reality, and we generally say a thing is harmful when it's at odds with reality and helpful when it's in conformity with reality, then it would seem that religion, God, belief in angels, etc. is a kind of illusion or delusion. It's at odds with reality. At worst, at best, it's a kind of a crutch. At worst, it's a danger. Okay, that concludes the first part of my presentation, and I'm going to go at it from a different angle in the second video.